Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Today, we'll go into a quick overview of Chapter 1 about what is organizational behavior. So when we talk about organizational behavior, we're really thinking about a study that tried to understand and improve the attitudes and behaviors of individuals and groups in organizations. So as a manager, as a leader of the organization, if you have organizations that are highly satisfied, highly motivated, that have a high performance, that will translate into making profit for the organization. You want to have individuals who remain in the organization who are committed, so you don't have a high turnover, and you have employees that are loyal. So organizational behavior aims to understand what makes those employees motivated, satisfied, committed, with high performance. In this book, as you can see, there are a lot of mechanisms and outcomes that the textbook explains. We'll be covering 12 of these chapters, and those chapters are listed on the syllabus. So do firms do a good job managing organizational behavior so they can become more profitable? And some do, and those who are really, using organizational behavior are those where employees are happy to work for. So if you look at the 100 best companies to work for, you can see there, this is Hilton, some of the names that we are familiar with, Wegmans, Cisco, American Express, Adobe, Marriott, Hyatt, Capital One. But you can see a list of some of these companies that really employees are happy to work for. So why is it that not everyone why is it that not all companies are using organizational behavior concepts? There is something that we call the rule of 1-8. First of all, because not everyone believes in the connection between how they manage their people and the profit they earn, okay? So some managers are very skeptic. They do not believe that increasing employee satisfaction and making sure that employees are committed to the organization will actually be directly linked to the profit that the organization are making. So we start from only one half of these organizations see the connection with what organizations do and how those changes to organizational behavior will impact their profits. Then from the half that believe in it, only half of the half believe that they're going to make any systematic changes. Some of these organizations will make one change, and then they believe that if they make one change, their employee is going to be satisfied, but that's not enough. For example, let's say McDonald's is one of those organizations that are suffering from high turnover. Employees are not committed, the satisfaction level is very low, and people, their employees come in and leave very quickly. So McDonald's decides to increase the minimum wage to $15. That's great, that's amazing, right? Employees will be happy. But if that's the only change that McDonald's does, and there are other concerns that employees have, and those concerns are not being taken care of, those employees are going to quit anyway. Because it's not just the pay, okay? We're going to see this in future chapters of organizational behavior. Pay is an important factor in employee satisfaction, but it is not the main factor. I could be paid $15 an hour as an employee at McDonald's. What happens if I have unsafe work conditions? What happens if I don't have the right training? What happens if I don't have a good supervisor? What happens if I don't have good coworkers? There's a lot of things that go into organizational behavior. And when organizations fail to make a systematic change, a meaningful change, and they only make one change, they do not get to the point to see how profits are being impacted. So now we went from only half of the companies believe in organizational behavior. And out of those half, only half make really meaningful change. But even for those organizations who make that meaningful change, some of them are very impatient. Some organizations, they want to increase the minimum wage to $15, and then they want to see the profit soar in the first 3 to 6 months. Well, as you know, if you make change, you have to wait for change. And unfortunately, for those companies that don't wait long enough, then, they're not going to be successful at organizational behavior and managing it. And only half of the half, that is why we have the rule of the 1-8. Persist with their practices long enough to actually see profit, to actually derive economic benefits. Okay. And those are the companies that are very successful. Those are the examples of Google, Apple, those big companies that really invest in organizational behavior. So where do knowledge come from? Let me ask you a few questions. What makes people stay healthy? So if I ask you this question, you're probably thinking, well, you have to have a good diet, you have to exercise, you have to sleep well. The second question, what causes children to grow up happy? Oh, well, if you live with your parents, if you have a loving family, if you have a safe environment, if you have the means, if you have a good education. And then the last one, what causes employees to be satisfied with their jobs? It could be because they have a good pay. Maybe they have good benefits, a good working environment, good coworkers, good supervisor. So I ask all these questions, and many of you already have answers for this question. Now, we're not doctors, we're not psychologists, and some of you, maybe have never worked in an organization, have never managed employees. So how do we know that information? We know that information from either our experiences. Many of us, I am a mother of 4 children, so I know what may cause children to be happy. Intuition, some of the things come as intuition. It makes sense, like it's just common knowledge. Authority, so if you have someone who has a degree in medicine as a doctor, you would know what causes people to be healthy. If you have a degree in psychology, or if you have taken class in psychology, you would know what causes children to be happy. And then the last method of knowing is what we call science. And experience, intuition, even authority may be subjective, but science is an objective method of knowing. Okay. So what happens with science is usually you want to verify that a hypothesis is true, right? So maybe you're thinking what causes someone to be healthy is if they exercise 3 days a week. And you're trying to prove that information is correct. And to do that, you may get data, you may have a group of individuals that you are tracking, maybe you have a control group, and then one group is exercising 3 days a week, and that one group is not exercising, then maybe you do some blood work or some tests on those people who are exercising 3 days a week. You can check their cholesterol level, you can check their blood pressure, and after a while, after you track those individuals, you figure out that okay, those people who were exercising 3 days a week are healthier than those people who are not exercising, who are just sitting around. Now, and when you do that, what you have is what you have a theory, and a theory is a collection of assertions that specify how and why variables are related, as well as the conditions in which they should and should not be related. So we talk about science. When you see, for example, in this textbook that it tells you that pay is a factor that increases employee satisfaction, it is not because it is common knowledge. It's not coming from experience or intuition of the authors. It's coming from the fact that they have conducted studies, that they have interviewed, collected surveys, followed employees in like hundreds of organizations to reach that conclusion. Okay, so it is based on science, on research. So let's look at this example that you have right here. Okay, so in this example that you have right here, it's about movies, and I'm not sure if you are movie fans. I'm a huge movie fan, and what this example is telling you is that a movie may be successful for different factors. Okay, and those factors could be maybe because the script is really good, or because there are famous people. Okay, and if you have a good script, and if you have favorable reviews in the first one right here, quality of script, and you have favorable reviews, then that movie is going to make a lot of money. Okay, that's one thought. Okay, the other example here shows, well, if you have famous stars and there's a lot of buzz generated about the movie is going to make a lot of money. Okay, so that those are all things that may contribute to making a movie successful. So we have independent variables the quality of the movie scripts and the fame of the stars, right? That affects dependable variables, which is how much a movie makes at the box office. So, similar to this example, this is what in organizational behavior in this textbook, this is what you will find, okay? You will find that if we look at, for example, job satisfaction, what are some of the factors that make that make employees satisfied in the jobs? It could be here in one of these blue boxes, it could be pay. Another blue box here could be a relationship with supervisor. Another blue box here could be working conditions. Another blue box could be a working conditions with coworkers. But that tells you that there are many factors that could impact an outcome of organizational behavior. The other thing we'll be looking at is how strong is the correlation, okay? Because we can say that pay impacts job satisfaction, but is it a positive relationship? Is it a negative relationship? Is it perfect relationship? Okay. Is it that every time that someone is paid well, that the job satisfaction is higher? Or is there anything else in between? Is there a strong correlation? Is there a weak correlation? And this is something that this textbook is trying to let you know. So at the end of every chapter, whenever we look at one outcome of organizational behavior, we'll look at what are the factors that impact it and how strong is the relationship with that factor. I will stop right here for this chapter. This is just a quick overview. You can finish it on your own time. And then once you feel comfortable, you can try to take chapter 1 homework and chapter 1 quiz. They are both available in Connect. Like I mentioned, they are not due until September 30th. If you don't feel comfortable taking the homework and the quiz until I am back on September 28th because you have questions for me, feel free to wait until then. If you want to shoot some questions regarding logistics to Professor Fontes, he'll be able to answer some of those questions as well. Thank you for listening to me in this video, and I'll see you in a future video. Thank you, everyone.